Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with a 9-time GSL champion, the Terran in the red, the man, the myth, the Maru. Facing off against the former world champion Zerg, the Italian stallion in the blue. We have Reynor in a best-of-7 Terran versus Zerg tournament showdown, part of the RSL offline finals for 2025. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. Tell me kind of the algorithm. Jimmy, what do we have? 1,763 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. And I'd like to start off with the words from noted philosopher Michael Scott. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And unfortunately for Reynor, he took a shot. But there's a 50-50 chance here on Mothership, our only 3-player map, that your Overlord is headed gliding off in the wrong direction. And Maru, I think, has taken great note of that, gambling a bit that there's going to be absolutely nothing to scout. The oldest build in StarCraft history. This build is older than Reynor himself. I'm pretty sure Terrans were building 3, 4, however many racks in their base since the Brood War, which predates Reynor. So, well, I guess Reynor wasn't. You know what I mean. It's not a big deal, but it's a deal. And not knowing that instead of a Hellion Banshee or even some sort of silly Hellbat play, not knowing that this could be a mass of Marines that Maru's just meandering across the map, could be a massive momentum shift. And the Queens, they take out the Reaper, but Maru needed to know whether he was dealing with a quick Roach Warren. You see, this is maybe a bit of revisionist editorializing here, or making myself sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I firmly believe that he sent the Reaper in and sacrificed it to make sure, because if there are roaches coming across the map and he walks across with Marines, he's going to have a bad time. There are no roaches. There is no Roach Warren. There's nothing to stop these Marines from getting a lot of damage done, and Reynor has not even sent out a Zergling. The Overlords are very slowly. Well, that's the only way they really do things. I guess you could splurge on the upgrade, but wow. Knowledge is power. Got it. Guard it wisely. Maru scans to take out an Overlord that isn't there. I'm not saying that like it was a mistake. That should tell you how important. All right, that confirms my suspicions and superstitions that Maru is doing everything he can to hide this until the last possible second. And hopefully... Oh, what? What? He's pulling the boys? Maru. Well... And sending... Is that an intentional pathing on those Marines? So he's going to knock out one of the Overlords. Raider's going to see the boys on the way! There are drones in production! Cancel everything! He cancels the upgrades! He cancels whatever he can! 3 spine crawlers into production! But Maru with the late stage all-in, pulling the boys to the front line. Is there a Baneling Nest? No. A Roach Warren? No. It's just going to be Lings and Queens and drones, whatever else he can put together. Slapping together a defense, the Marines forced to micro back, the SCVs buffering, and without any splash damage, it's not easy to get through to the Marines themselves. The Queens are holding, but they can't hold forever. Gun down on the ramp, 19 drones dead, 11 SCVs alongside them. The workers cut down first. We're just gonna have to see who ends up last. And Maru's attack has done terrible damage. The spawning pool itself is vulnerable. The spine crawlers are done, but a day late and $1 short, and the chiropractor's office of spines is certainly misjudging the situation. Maru is now locked into the main base with the Marines. The Zerglings are cutting off reinforcements. Reynor's not out of it yet, but he's down. It's bad. The fact that Maru has a double engineering bay behind this. The hubris. And also the pragmatism. There's no vision up to the high ground. Maru doing everything he can to mask this timing. And it worked. Well, Reynor's incredibly fast, split-second reaction of canceling everything and getting spine crawlers is the only thing keeping him alive right now. Those spine crawlers and the fact that the Marines do not have any upgrades, no medevacs. They're holding... Reynor no longer has a main base. We're playing Nomad right now, which seems a bit better suited to Terran than it does to Zerg, but the spawning pool was rebuilt. The Zerglings, that's not enough. With Combat Shield done and access to Stim, you need at least double their number, ideally on creep. The Baneling Nest is halfway there. And what a start, and what a Maru build. Oh, the Marines are stimming by the spine crawlers, getting more than their pound of flesh. Just impaling the Marines, and Maru was pretty convinced he'd get overrun in the main, but a misstep, though he doesn't know it. This game has been all about... Now, this is why I love the fact that we forced the players into 3-player maps. You know, this was of the 15 maps... just an aside, since we have a moment, because everybody's kind of crippled right now. Reynor more than Maru. There were 15 maps of the Team Liquid Map Contest finalists. The players voted for 3. Tournament organizers like Wardy voted for 3, and then community members voted for 3. There was a ton of overlap between tournament organizers and just viewers and community members, including this map being in the top 3. This map was either second or dead last for players. And you know what? Too bad. I love this sort of actual poker gameplay we're having here. Maru gambles everything, but that's Maru in a nutshell. The longer the series, and the more skilled the opponent, sometimes the stronger he is. He's never been great at these long, like, tournaments where you have to play 5-6 players back-to-back. He's more of an assassin than a soldier. And now, well, speaking of soldiers, the Marines and the medevacs coming across the map. A 1-1 is done for both sides. Reynor managed to scrape together those upgrades eventually. The main base has been retaken, and Maru has something to say about that. One word. No. Why are you speaking Spanish? But he did enough damage. He killed more drones than he lost SCVs. He pulled like a third of his SCVs to kill half of Reynor's economy. And Reynor does not have mules. All he has is Lings and Banes, and the Banes don't have speed. The 2 spines that survived are going to be something. Not much. Not enough. The fallback. The Widow Mines, though. And the Banelings get surprisingly close. And again, Reynor pulls a victory from the jaws of defeat. The Widow Mines dodged out. And if he can get Baneling speed, he can survive to fight a little bit longer. So far, Maru has been unable to lay down the killing blow, but all it's going to take is one mediocre fight for Reynor. And it's going to take several terrible ones for Maru to lose his advantage. Reynor with the counterattack at the back. Meanwhile, the Widowmine at the front gets a huge chunk of the Lings. Back under 100 supply while Maru's at 130. 2-2 upgrades are about to finish. The Zerglings get a few SCVs, but a hatchery is taken down the center. Maru just trundling around with the Marines and Marauders, the Mines and the Medevacs. The M&M and M&M is enough to maintain the momentum. Concussive shells done. More Zerglings. Desperate counterattack, but the door is not shut. He lets the Lings in and all the way into the main. Well, at least we're going to make it interesting. At the same time, the Banelings mutually assured destruction, but Maru looking the other way as well he should, with dozens of Zerglings in your base. But he walks right into the Banelings. Reynor finds a perfect opportunity, and he seizes it. 23 SCVs dead. He's going to be able to take out several more Widowmines. The SCVs actually help defend it, but the Zerglings are still in the main. Maru's down to 35 SCVs. He still has the upgrades, the standing army, or the flying army if you slap it into the medevacs, but Reynor has done way more than I ever expected he could, but not enough in order to bring this all the way back. He needs one more time. All right, I'm upgrading his position from desperate to hopeful. Hopeful still not exactly the most reliable ground to stand on, but especially with Widow Mines underneath it. Splitting off one, gonna try to drag in another. A triple drop. And the hatchery potentially vulnerable. A couple overlords caught in the crossfire. And Reynor is still at 1-1 with Zerglings and Banelings. He just has queens. The hatch... Did he cancel? Supply blocked. He's been crippled this entire game from the first attack. From the lack of vision to the first attack. The constant backstabs enough to keep Maru at bay. But the momentum is clear. I don't know how much longer he can survive. But, you know, I should stop downplaying it. Reynor has clawed his way back in the most literal sense. With these Zerglings and Banelings, the timing is everything. It's not about the numbers, it's about attention per minute. And Maru is clearly struggling once Reynor sets up these double attacks. Some at the back, a drop in the main, a drop at the fourth. More drops than a Skrillex album right now for Maru, but so far Reynor's done enough to deflect. But the main base, there's no Banelings here. Is there a Widow Mine underneath? No Widow Mines, but still biding time. The Queens, plenty of energy. Maru has rebuilt the SCV count. He's actually just targeting the hatch here, but the Banelings come around the corner. The medevac picks up one Maru. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. They do that a lot, eh? The Queen of the Are you okay, Brenda? Is that real? What? Maru with the most curious case of a paralyzed medevac. The Queen stunning good looks. Must have been the issue, but 173 to 126 supply. The Marines and Marauders just standing their ground and gunning down every single Zergling. The biomass has reached critical levels. More Zerglings come back, but the numbers... He lost one Marine, one Marauder for 34 Zerglings and 3 drowns. That's a pretty good KD ratio there for the Marines and Marauders. A desperate Baneling mine, but I don't even know if the surface area there could hit enough. Reynor pulling out the stops, but a stop sign doesn't stop a freight train. I think he's gonna... The Marauders are doing so much damage. 3-3 is done. Reynor actually snuck his way to 2-2 upgrades. The Baneling mine is also here. The Widow mines keep connecting. Wow, just disrespectful. Right clicks on the hatch. Why won't you die? But another drop at the back. The Queen's fending it all off, but Reynor has lost 300 Zerglings. Honestly, not that many, because his economy's never been good enough to build enough. The upgrades, the momentum, and finally, Maru will claim victory. A lot more effort than I originally expected after that crippling first attack. But Reynor did everything right besides the most important thing, which was scout that attack before it was already at his doorstep. By the time the FBI says open up, it's maybe a little late to hide the evidence. And Maru taking full advantage of that violence of action style, where if you just keep hitting them, they can never really recover. Though, I don't think you could be too upset about that as Reynor. A 3-player map, Overlord went the wrong direction, Maru went out of his way to... You saw the scan. The scan was the most telling part. He scanned for an Overlord while hiding most of his Marines. Very clearly trying to pull one over on Reynor, and he succeeds. Maru takes a lead. Reynor's still looking very dangerous. Calm down, Lou. Classic Maru, though. Just all in, pulls the boys at the 5-minute. Who does that? It's not TVP. Maybe he's just been playing so much he decided to adapt the build, but Game 2. Evil Heart. One of my favorite map names. Just, if you make it red, the Diablo style of telling people are evil. Which is also whenever Pretty much half of your plot exposition being when people are bleeding out on the floor waiting for you to talk to them. It was funny the first 4 times. The next 14, it was a bit cliche. Where's that drone going? Proxy hatch. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, this is a little less subtle. But Maru did not SC... Well, this is not even that early, but... Maru... As long as he comes down the ramp after the barracks... I don't know what the correct response... It really depends on what Reynor's doing back at home. And because Maru didn't SCV scout too early, he won't know for sure that this isn't some sort of, like, big Zergling all-in. It's very... This is... You don't put it here if you're doing a big all-in. This is... Just throw the game sideways. Maru sees it, SCV double take, and whips out the bunker, slaps it down next to the hatchery. And not giving this the respect it may or may not deserve. He is, at this point, correctly gambling that Reynor is not committed to much more than kind of a placeholder in the literal sense. If Reynor just happened to be doing a roach all-in, which would be incredibly risky, but potentially effective, then Maru might die. Like, if Reynor had any chance of popping roaches out and coming across, but that is not the case. He would have to cut so much of his economy. Maru, this is quite a look. Like, the bunker covered by creep. No practical effect besides grossing out everyone inside and making sure you can't build there if it gets destroyed. The Zerglings are on the way. Reynor, seeing how lackadaisical even, how disrespectful Maru is being, and decides he's gonna commit to the lings. Some players use this for literally just, now you have to deal with the hatch. Builds 3 hatches back at home, but Reynor's just building more lings. He has speed on the way. The creep tumor hidden in the corner. And Maru, a little late on thinking about what that queen's doing and wondering why the energy is so low. But the creep has begun, and that's going to be a lot harder to deal with, as now it requires some form of detection. Zergling speed isn't too far off. He's making more lings at home. Reynor with the full Zergling rush, looking to overwhelm the bunker. And there is plenty on the high ground. A cyclone is on the way, which may actually be a misstep in this case. A siege tank would make more sense against the mass Zerglings, but he might be anticipating roaches. Another creep tumor, clearly spreading them out as far as possible, so a scan can't be too efficient. Well, Maru invented doors, so he will be able to hold the high ground for now. There is no Baneling nest on the way. Reynor's actually behind on workers, though Maru only has 1 base to mine from, so that's not a huge disparity. Maru's he's really chill about this. There is a hatchery literally on your front lawn right now. He's like, you know what? In my backyard, why not? Which is a uniquely un-Terran mindset. The Cyclone locks on and might be able to snipe the hatch. He's going to continue dancing around. The Marines on the high ground to protect it. Locks on to the Queen. Extra vision. And, well, a Raven on the way. Behind this, Reynor's just... Huh. Well, there goes the hatch. This is the amount of effort. Usually you have to threaten their firstborn and half of their family tree while also cutting off several of their fingers in order to get a Terran to even think about building a Raven. But Maru, uniquely flexible. I wouldn't say he's a kind of a freestyle Terran, but definitely thinking a couple steps ahead. Now, the problem is he has to step down his ramp. That's the most important step here. And right now, Reynor is protecting his creep. He gets on the... Oh no, if he gets the sight...
What a save!
And what a snipe with the Reaper. He commits the Reaper with the grenade to sniping off the creep tuber. Because otherwise he can't expand. Right now, Reynor is back creeping, which is just as awkward as it sounds. The creeps are gonna touch very soon. It's gonna be quite a moment. Ah, yes. When the creeps touch, all right, that's when you'll know it's time to like and subscribe. Dun, 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 dun. What's happening? We're ignoring him clearing the creep. They've touched! The creep has conjoined! Not that it has a practical effect besides, because it's the creep tumors that actually are the spread and provide vision, but it's more of an emotional thing. Check out my Dronely fans for more creeps touching. No. No, give me... No. Raven leading the charge. As Maru, step by step, eliminating the creep from his side of the map. But the Zergling counter is in a perfect position. The siege tank, though, is enough on the high ground and actually takes a huge chunk of Zerglings with it. 9 Zerglings dead. The lair just now finishing up. Double drop from Maru headed across the map. Reynor does... He's carved out quite an economic lead. 54 drones. +1 carapace is about to complete. Maru already has +1 infantry weapons, as well as stim, so quite a dangerous amount, but that's a lot of Lings and Banes. He might be able to target a few, but that's more than enough to drive back the double drop. Maru's bringing more across the map. And, oh, a lot of the Marines getting caught. The Raven gonna slap down some auto turrets. An awkward engagement, to say the least. +1 carapace finishes mid-fight. Takes out both siege tanks, which... Those were Maru's best chance to actually knock out the Banelings. Especially... Well, speed is still pretty far off, so... They're not too much of a threat. The Queens, though... Raven wants to keep wandering into the fight. Ravens won't... Well, the boys! Yeah, sure, bring the boys! Why not? Maru is determined. The Banelings out in front. The Raven gets Edgar Allan Poe'd, and... Now some more medevacs. Maru just offered up 11 SCVs. Which... But it's a curious choice, to say the least, especially considering he already saw Banelings. It doesn't have nearly the same effect it did in the previous game. But the Zergling counterattack, and now there's almost nothing back at home to defend the Lings and Banes. And importantly, Baneling speed is completed. A single tank will not be enough to stop this. And Reynor equalizes the series 1-1 with a bit of a cheese of his own. And a similar style, too. I mean, Maru hit his racks and his Marines. Reynor kind of slapped a proxy hatch in his face, but it ended up being a macro cheese in the end. Definitely a different sort of series so far. Not the generic sit back, watch Heli and Banshee poke and prod at the Queens while they yell at each other for 7-minute meta that we're more used to seeing. It's certainly some originality. Now, does that mean it's something that should be replicated or we could expect to see in more games in this series? Well, there's only one way to find out. Jimmy, there's only one way to find out. Apologies. Like and subscribe so I can get some real help. Mental or physical. Take your... Game 3. Reynor ties things up with the curious case of a proxy hatch. A mid-tier commitment to it as well. Didn't go for a Baneling bust, didn't go for a Roach all-in, but built enough Zerglings to keep Maru from expanding for over half of the game. And now we're on another curious map. Another map the pros voted almost dead last in the pool. Which means the best case for some. Now, Evil Heart is specific to the RSL as well. So, 3 maps in a row that players are less than enthused. And now, pro players, can you blame them? Think about the vast majority of pros who are practicing, we're going to say generously, 8 hours a day. They're almost always playing on the ladder the majority of that. If you are practicing, and SC2, for better or worse, has kind of been homogenized to a few map types and a few styles where players have gotten really good at that. And if you've spent 100 hours practicing a certain punch, and for some reason you can't use that punch, then you're not going to like it as much. Maybe you have a new strategy, but that's a whole new thing. I think a lot of SC2 players, these two included, though Maru may be less so, are inclined to practice a strategy that works on most of the maps instead of one that works on a specific map. Which, from an entertainment standpoint, I don't know if you agree or not, but I think it's much more interesting to see. And we see this in Brood War, where, at least to my understanding, much of the balancing and the strategy is done around maps. Like, there's some maps where a certain race is like a 2 in 3 chance of winning, or more. Like, those are ridiculous. If we had a map like that in StarCraft 2, it would have been tarred and feathered and deleted by the Blizzard intern, accidentally or intentionally at some point. Both have happened. Here, if a map, and for better or worse, but the thing is in StarCraft 2 as well, your units are so good at following your orders. Like, it's not just 12 Zerglings at a time you send to their death. It's 120. It's not just a few Goliaths. It's your entire bio army. And not just that, but workers are also pretty smart. Up until they go mine from that one mineral patch that a Liberator is hitting because the map maker didn't perfectly test every single little angle around 180 degrees that a Liberator could hit. And that is part of why we have a specific layout and a almost generic sort of style that we're finally breaking out of. And so far, as much as I like to complain that Terrans just need to have one eye and then they can take advantage of terrain, it doesn't necessarily seem to be just Terrans finding siege tank and Liberator positions. Zergs, with the Spire now being slightly quicker, and Banelings back to 35 HP, which is quite a big buff to the mid-game. Honestly, things kind of evening out. People have strong opinions on the design of certain stages of the game, like whether you like Ghosts or Ghostbusters, and how you should go about that, or TVP, and how the Terran army is so incredibly strong, right up until it all dies in 2 seconds when you look away, except Clem never looks away. But it's all kind of, it's honestly more even than I expected. And the map's working out great for both entertainment value and balance overall. So what I'm trying to say is this game's pretty good, and it's kind of fun. You know what's even more fun? The German taxi build. Named after Lambo, the German Zerg player who comes up with a lot of these sort of builds and then passes them off sometimes to Cyril and Reynor to execute at a marginally higher level. The Queen... Susan! What, Brenda? Is it echoey in here? Shut up! Oh, you calm down. Ever since Karen put on that extra weight, we can't really fit as easily. That's not true. That's just hurtful. I don't... Sorry. This isn't just a German taxi build. We're taking the whole posse here. A bunch of Zergling bodyguards alongside, and it's drop a clock. The Overlords on their way across. The Zerglings in the front to distract and try to take advantage of the spread out nature. The pocket base, the main base is under attack. The Marines getting flanked on either side. And Maru, for the 3rd time, did not go Banshees. And for the 2nd time, I think he'll regret it. Well, that kind of ended abruptly, didn't it? Reynor was 69. He just drops the queens right on his face. And some people might be into that. But the Marines, not so much. Wow, he just died. Well, I was trying to do what I think is relatively clever transition to actually talking about the game after the very clearly passive-ish build-up. But then Reynor just walked across and killed him. That game more one-sided than a Mobius strip right there. No one fools Reynor 3 times with the Marine builds. All right. Okay. Reynor 2-1. That was he didn't even bother. I'm not sure if he had stim done, and I don't know if it would have mattered, but... So, Maru just completely skipping the Hellion Banshee early game. And there's a reason the Hellion Banshee early game exists. Not that it necessarily would have been... Well, partially for scouting, alright? Honestly, more than half. You can't really do builds like that as Reynor, unless you get lucky and, like, take out their... Where are you going? Oh, no. Maru's like, well, I still don't want to go Hellion Banshee, so have we tried? Okay, now stay with me, everyone. All right. Marines. Want to jot that down? All right, let's write that down. Let me write that down real quick. All right, Marine. All right, you guys, you can share your notes. It's a proxy 1-2. And can we get a third on the high ground? Sure, why not? There's a small chance, and the reason you usually separate the third racks is if the Overlord scouts 2 racks, it'll usually back off immediately, and the third racks will come as a surprise. So if he pulls drones, it could be absolutely devastating. But if he doesn't pull drones, it also could be horrible. Either way, this is likely going to do damage. But Maru is sacrificing. I assume he's going to pull some more boys as well, because that seems to be tradition at this point. He will go Marines and almost exclusively Marines, or die trying. And I honestly have no idea which one it's going to be. Reynor, the Overlord, will spot the... Well, that tells the story. The Overlord trying to get back to the pervert pillar. Very important it does so. If he loses there, it's probably the game over right there. There goes the bunker. The drones are pulled off the line. All right, everyone, here we go. Spine crawlers on the way. The drones trying to split. He's trying to buy time for the Zerglings. You can't let the bunker finish, though. He's chasing down the Marines. 3 drones split off. Assassinates the SCV. He's lost 3 drones in total. Needs that bunker, and he's gonna get it. More Marines on the way. 6 drones dead. It's starting to add up. The SCVs just tapping each other on the shoulder. That's what I was gonna say. The Queen comes out. There's still a decent Marine count. More boys are pulled across the map. Reynor's building drones. He's underestimating. How would... Not again! The boys are pulled! And yet again, they find themselves on the front line. The Marines being targeted by the spine. Beautifully done by picking out those Marines. But he doesn't have any lings. He's losing so many drones. The Queen! It's too much. It's over. Maru with the triple proxy racks. The Maru special. And just like that, it's 2-2. Oh my. These two. Proxy hatch, proxy racks, queen drop, Marine timing. Macro-roni with plenty of cheese. I don't... Of course he's gonna pull the boys. Reynor was judging it based on the fact he didn't pull them right off the bat. He was looking for some time to recover. Like, Maru was going to pull back. He didn't really commit. It's a lot, but it's not everything. And then he will rule this sector, see it burnt to ashes around him. He'll commit the vast majority of his economy to ruin yours. The hostile takeover is a success. And Maru is all tied up. I guess we're speed running this. What do you do? Reaper build. That's a new one. Well, I guess he's gonna wall the front. I guess there's a chance that it could just be Marines right off the bat, but almost always at least Reapers to start, where you keep control of the situation by having those 3 Reapers, which is enough to potentially kill Queens on their own. And again, building multiple barracks early does lead you into a certain type of build. And that certain type of build is a bunch of Marines. Shades of Beyond here. Maru, why are you like this? The Overlords. Reynor actively microing his Overlord. You can see it just trying to scour right at the edges. The map is dark. And he knows it could be full of Terrans. But there's only so much you can see. If you drone scout, like if you look around your base for Proxy Rex with the drone, you may create a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of situation. Because using any percentage of your economy to try to scout for a Proxy Rex that, oh my god, it is just Marines. Oh, sweet mother of mercy. And believe it or not, I was wondering, with this barracks layout, he wasn't able to put add-ons. But who needs add-ons when you could, and this is true, build Marines in the Overlord. Dude. Ooh. I don't know what you expected. Well, that's a pretty big blow early. Reynor still. He's gonna bunker rush again. I was wondering. He's pulling the SCV. Reynor actually expands to the northern side, which Maru might not expect. This SCV is not here to see the sights, okay? The Overlord will spot it. The Queen, you can't let it bunker rush you again. The SCV, yeah, it's pretty clear what's happening here. Even if he didn't see the bunker. Well, he's building 10 lings and a spine. He's gonna have to cancel the hedge. Yeah. So, Maru does not have any add-ons on his ranks. That means no stim, no combat shield, just 1 Marine in a bunker. This cheeky, cheeky Terran. The Marines are gonna get overrun. Not all of them. The SCV, like, actually, never mind. You guys got this. No problem. I'll just be leaving. That's fine. We'll get the scout. And if you... Hey, ma'am. Just take a look around real quick. Just a quick inspection. The SCV actually gets quite a solid scout. Confirms the other third. It's in... And saw that he wasn't mining gas. He didn't actually see the gas gassers, but should be enough of a giveaway. Hellions behind it. Maru's still keeping his options open, but I do think Reynor is in a perfectly fine spot. I don't know. Like, this is so weird. Hero, Maru! You can't let the Zerglings in. Now, I might not be a professional gamer, okay? Just to backseat a little bit. Maybe don't let the Zerglings in your... The most obvious... He lifted up the Rex. The setup of the add-ons. I was wondering how much of a disaster it would be. And you know what? Pretty significant disaster. Not a game-ending one, as the Hellions are still good enough, but he got in, and now Maru's like, we're gonna make it happen. All right, McDonald's boys, we're going out for dinner tonight, and we're gonna eat some Zerg, which somehow, I'm not, it's gonna be char-broiled. Shut up, Sarge. This is, there's no way he planned this, right? One does not simply go for mass marines. He just keeps slapping down barracks. You can't just keep building factories. The Industrial Revolution had... What is this supply? Why not just fall off? He's upgrading Stim and Blue Flame Hellions. Like, this is straight out of 2010. This isn't Boxer. Yeah, sure. Double armory after going double engine. You can't just have both builds. Now, if he gets away with this, that is a... The only saving grace here is that this is so obviously dumb, there's a chance it rolls all the way back around to being smart. But the sheer amount of investment, the mass Hellions here, there's already roaches on the way. So even if Reynor... Yeah, a couple dozen roaches should be more than enough to deal with these Hellions, right? And you know, if he's doing something weird, as the philosopher said, go fucking kill him. Reynor has 66 drones and is spamming roaches just like Stefano. Now we're pulling out all the nostalgic references of players who are twice Reynor's age almost. That is 21 Hellions with Blue Flame completed. Unfortunately, there's 22 roaches. They don't have speed, but the Hellions can't fight this. They can... Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. And the Zerglings? Maru already retreated from the third, and now the third itself. The Hellions are coming back, but the roaches now have speed and are going to go scampering across the map. He's got Overlord speed on the way as well. Maybe anticipating a need for anti-air, but at this stage, I don't think it's necessary. What is the scan, Maru? Of course he's attacking you. And then the scan... I wonder if he's going to send all his roaches across. I'm going to take a wild guess. Survey says... Maybe? Mr. Zergachev, tear down this wall. The barracks, dead. A few siege tanks. But Reynor built some Ravagers. The Hellions get a few kills. Not enough. And Maru is just dead.
He's dead, Jim.
With his topsy-turvy build swerve. It all, you know, nothing really good comes of letting Zerglings into your base. But it feels like Maru just completely just Control-A, delete on his entire build. And decided, we're just gonna go back, I guess. That was quite a throwaway game in almost every sense, it feels like. And now, Reynor's on match point. He'll take it, I'm sure. Dealing with Maru it's a unique experience. I think different than dealing with almost any other player. Different than Hero, different than Clem. Maru is a strategical player. Except apparently when he's very much not. So, here we are on Winter Madness. And also the map, Winter Madness. Thank you to the RSL for another great, well, for their first great year, sorry. As sort of a supplement, hopefully not replacement, but unclear, of GSL. And in case this is our last game, be awesome if you could like and subscribe. And I'm zeroing in on the end of the year. And if you're watching this in 2026 or 7, when I have 10 million subscribers, which is very optimistic, but you know, you never know. You kind of know, but then the end of the year top 10 games. Though I was kind of thinking it might be a little biased, but I was thinking I would do the top 10 games of Hero and then the top 10 games of sane StarCraft 2 players. But I'm not sure yet. And it might not be just 10, but like a 4 to 6 hour video is what it's going to end up as. More than likely. Like 2 separate ones. I need a video of Hero being the best Diamond League player in the game, and then Hero being someone who can go toe-to-toe and beat / almost beat Cyril on a regular basis. Jekyll and Hyde. Forrest and Gump. Not the same, but so similar. Is it? No, just move on. Just keep talking. Say it confidently, and nobody actually pays attention to the particulars. Is this confident? And then, if you invested your stat points, at least charismatic commentary that people keep coming back for. Not because they fell asleep 5 games ago, not because autoplay brought them here, but because they want... They don't know what they want, all right? Let the clickbait figure it out. Just say something. It's provocative. Gets the people going. One drone will lead the SCV away. The other drone will take advantage of its easily seduced nature. Maru thinking about the early third base block, and the drone popped into the air and knocked down. And is he gonna fall back to an actual build for a game? He's building a factory. This could be a 1-1-1 for the first time in 6 games. A Hellion Banshee build is, or at least a Hellion into Starport build is seemingly on the agenda. Maru, for better or worse. Unclear which. Kind of reverting to the more standard fare. Reynor. The Overlord is still so far out. Interesting. There is no pervert pillar on this map where you can have that Overlord creeping everyone out and watching them, but... Yeah. Not risking it early. Maru has made a significant effort to deal with the Overlords in this series. And wouldn't be surprised if he continues. But the Reaper Hellion coming in at a standard time. And I'm sure Reynor is now guessing or wondering, what's the kicker here? What's the twist? The twist is there is no twist. All right. The classic counter twist. And then he runs by with the Hellions, which is not surprising. But the Zergling's gonna try to body block. Doing a great job so far. Just a few lings to buy time with their lives. And getting one of the Hellions and the Reaper really mitigates the potential for devastating damage. And a Zergling at the same time got into the main. We'll get a full scout. The drones! Get off my quick! Brenda, are you okay? No! Holy shit. Finally! No. Alright. Sorry, I blacked out for a moment. The Queen's finally able to shut down the early harass in a way that they've struggled this entire series to do. But this is what the meta is designed around. It's a bunch of queens to provide defense, macro, creep spread, anti-air. Cloak is done, and there is no lair completed yet, though Reynor's most of the way there. One upgrades for Maru, but make no mistake, when you commit to the run-by, you have given up. You've ceded control of most of the map. The Banshees are good, but they're not good enough to stop the creep nearly as reliably as also having the Hellion Reap. You've traded some potential damage now for map control later, and it did not pay off. It didn't get nearly enough done. And now Reynor has 58 drones with almost 10 more on the way. He's got his 4th hatchery already coming up. The lair's completed, and Maru has a 3rd command center, yes, but it's not even landed. I think he actually built the starport before the 3rd, which is less economical, though. Focuses more on getting the Banshees out. And Reynor with an infestation pit so quick. It can be a bit risky to rush for... It's for Swarm... No, it's not for Swarm House. Obvious. Not obvious, but very unlikely for Swarm House. But instead, going to try to rush up towards Hive. He doesn't even have a Baneling nest, but if you've hamstrung the Terran this much, I don't know if you necessarily need it. His upgrades are in a timely fashion, alongside 6.5-minute Hive. Wow. And an Infestor on the way. You see it reflected in the supply. Maru 93 to 115. Reynor at now 69 drones, which is a nice enough baseline economy to really pump out the Zerglings. Maru's not building SCVs. He is all in. An Octo Rex on 50... What, is he going to pull the boys? Don't say it! Don't say it, he's going to do it! You know he is! He's on literally 49 SCVs. He is on... He can't even afford shoestrings at this point. We're just on Velcro. Which some people prefer, but no. Doesn't seem as professional. Would not be surprised if he pulls the boys here. The +1 Carapace about to complete the Zerglings. Not the most cost-effective fight, but trying to whittle down the Marine count. There's not really enough SCVs to pull. The Infestors are out, but no Banelings. Means this has some potential. Maru has greater army supply with better upgrades. The +1 melee attack is closing in. It's not quite done yet. The Marines don't have combat shield, though, and they're up against the Fungal. The Zerglings on top. The siege tanks don't really discriminate if the Marines are nearby. And Adrenal Glands begins alongside an Ultraless Cavern. Reynor is confident he can throw this back and then bring it all home. But maybe a bit too confident as the Marines chasing down the Queens and already gunned down the majority of the Zerglings. Maru is consistently pushing the momentum. He has not built an SCV in several minutes. This is his economy. This is all he has. And again, Reynor may be underestimating his commitment. Reynor built a few more drones after that last attack. He's investing in more tech. The army value is in favor of Maru by a pretty decent margin. And mostly because Reynor's investing in the future. If he can make it there, he's in good shape. The medevacs are nearly out of energy. The Queen's trying to help them out of life. The Marines are standing their ground in the siege tank in a cinematic fashion. Body blocked by the Marines as they hold their ground. But the Infestor and the Knitting Needles are enough to make sure it all comes undone. And Maru is pushed back yet again. And now 2 Ultralisks in production. There's no chitinous plating in the upgrades tab. But there's no Marauders. There are a couple Liberators to try to hold it down. There's so little here. The Zerglings have been cutting off reinforcements, but Daddy's home. The Ultralisks are out. The Infestors. The Fungal at the last second. The Queens will hold the line and knock down the Liberators. And Maru, the momentum is broken. He will try to drop out the Marines, but the Adrenal Gland Zerglings will rip them apart. The Ultras on the high ground. I mean, that's still a bunch of Marines. You're not... He needs kindness plating. Many bullet. Do trick. Has to be careful chasing too far. A baneling nest on the way for Reynor. He has only lost 8 drones, and most of those to the Reaper, Hellion, and Banshee. So very little progress made in limiting Reynor's economy. Meanwhile, Maru limited his own to get this damage done. He only recently started rebuilding SCVs. A 4th command center is on the way. But Reynor's getting everything else. He's got a Spire in production, another hatch, kindness plating about to complete, +2 melee attack. His upgrades will be at an advantage over a Terran, which is quite a rare Pokemon. Liberator knocked out of the sky. The Spore Crawler in position to preempt it. And with Corruptors, he'll have the answer. Maru is not on a ghost economy. Ghosts are very good, if you can afford them. But it's expensive to be poor. And Maru right now, he's going to try to rely on the Marines, the Marauders, the Mines, and the Medevacs, as he has. In fact, we haven't seen a ghost this entire series. And I fear we may not by the end of it. Setting up the wall to keep the Ultras at bay, but Reynor showing some pragmatism of his own. Making sure he has the bases, he has the economy. I think as soon as Maru sticks his head out to take a 4th base, that's when Reynor comes to chop it off. Until then, you can have your 3 bases. I'll have my 6. That seems like a fair trade to me. So the Zergling is about to scout exactly what's happening. Maru is only halfway through the 2-2 upgrades. A single Ultra left behind. But, something that weighs almost as much as your mother should be able to hold it down. 28 Banelings. Speed is already done. Reynor getting the Baneling Nest as the finishing move. The battering ram to break down the door one last time. And here we go. The Lings, the Banes, the Ultras. The Corruptors over the top. The Ultras chewing through. A few Zerglings dragging out the Widowmines. And Maru's retreating, but to where? He's running out of real estate. The Baneling's still rolling through. There's too much biomass. He's retreated to the 4th base. The Ultras are just chewing through the wall at the natural. Maru doing a great job of holding it together. But a single fungal, and he'll be torn apart. And there it is! Catches him, cloven in twain. And Reynor now up 70 supply, and it's not getting any better. The SCVs will retreat from the 3rd, but it's not any better at the natural. An Ultra in the main. There's nothing left. He cannot get out. Reynor is coming. 4 games for Reynor to just 2 for Maru. He pulled 1 or 2 over on him, but Reynor adapted, and he overcame, as any good Zerg should. Maru unable to compete in the mid-game. And Reynor, once he was able to get over the cheeky builds that Maru was pulling out, he had a solid foundation for victory. Quite a dynamic series to say... Jimmy! A dynamic series, to say the least. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And if you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing and hyping are still free, at least for now. Thank you to our mule tier patrons, bringing in the extra minerals. Maru could have used it. Big Jiggy, Devin, Door, Kate, Mario, Soup. Glad you're still enjoying everyone. Make sure to check out this video Jimmy picked out for you. And if it sucks, it's his fault. But good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Stay chill.